Hey there. Welcome to my DrupalCon 2020 session called Have Your Cake and Eat It Too. Run your agency and keep your sanity. This is a short talk for agency owners, business leaders, and the like. And given these times and coronavirus likely affecting your business, my business, this is a talk for you, things that you can do to maintain your sanity and hopefully help run your business a little bit better. I know that as I was putting this talk together, I realized this is the advice I need to be listening to myself. I need to hear these things and I need to apply them because right now is a really stressful time. And to be honest, I've been having a tough time with the way coronavirus and other things happening in our world are impacting me and impacting my business. And so I hope that you will find some good advice in here, and I hope that I too will take some of these nuggets and begin reapplying them, as I think I've slipped a little bit of late. So a little bit about me. I'm the CEO and partner at Chromatic. I have two wonderful business partners. We're equal shares, and we've been running Chromatic together for many years now. I've been working in the web professionally for 14 years, but I've been building websites since high school back. I believe my first HTML site was on GeoCities, and that was in 1998. And oh man, I would love to dig that up. But you should listen to me because I think about this a lot. I struggle with balancing work and life. I struggle with decoupling my own identity from that of the success of the business. And I've been working really hard to make that balance better. Chromatic has been, I would say, a successful company. Been in business for well over a decade. And in 2019, we had over $3 million in revenue, which had you told me when we started this thing that I would at one point have $3 million in revenue, I would have said, well, that's it. You're done. You've made it. You know, all of the work you've poured in has obviously worked, and great job. And let's move on. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I've really struggled with that, and what is enough. And I've really struggled with how do I make the business work for me and be something that not only feeds my family, but feeds my soul and makes me happy. And so hopefully today we can talk a little bit about some of the things I've learned and that I'm trying, and just be really honest. So I have a bit of a secret. I mentioned on the last slide that I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and in doing so I spend a lot of time talking to other business leaders and building my network of other leaders and hearing from them. And one of the things that was really shocking to me in thinking about business and honing these relationships and getting to know other business owners is that those that I've looked up to for a decade, I won't mention them by name, but they also struggle with these things, these business leaders. They struggle with payroll, they struggle with hiring, they struggle with finding good balance. And they would tell you, if you can befriend them like I have, or befriend others in your industry, that they have things that are on fire, things that are burning, things that they wish they had done, or things they wish they had changed. So those agencies that I've looked up to for so many years, it was really nice to hear that they too have a bunch of the same problems and that I wasn't some kind of failure. So I often, when I'm struggling, reach out to those folks and sort of get that encouragement or that validation that, hey, we're in this together and now I'm having the same problems. So that's the secret. Everyone's struggling. So let's get into my advice. Like I said, a lot of this is advice that I need to hear myself. And so I'm hoping I listen. And it's going to be short and brief. I'm just going to hit you with a lot of things that I would like you to start thinking about or considering. And that'll be it. I know you're busy. So invest in you. Number one, your well-being is non-negotiable. This is something that I've struggled mightily with. I have put the business and the work and clients and everything that comes along with running a digital services agency before my own well-being. And in the last couple of years, I've decided that that's non-negotiable anymore. I really need to start thinking about my own well-being. So the rest of this slide will maybe touch on some of the things that I've been doing. I started saying no a lot more often. I might suggest, if this is a new concept to you, that you start with a couple meetings, hell, one meeting, and just say, no, I'm not coming to that meeting. And you'd be amazed at what happens when you start saying no. I started doing more of what I love. And it doesn't matter what those things are, but what are they for you? That might be really helpful. So if you sit down and think, what are the things that I love doing that maybe I'm lost track of or haven't done much of lately because the business is consuming, all consuming, try to dial that back, get that balance back, and do more of those things that you love. Schedule time to do nothing. I block my Fridays, and that has been such a great thing. I spend at one point every morning, I go for a walk, weather permitting. And in doing nothing, I find that I spend a lot of time thinking about the business and strategy, and I don't have the pings of Slack or some emails to check on, or sort of that dopamine hit that I can get by going to find a problem that I can fix. So scheduling time to do nothing and sticking to it has been really helpful. I also started meditating and thinking a lot about mindfulness and listening to my own inner dialogue. And what were the types of things that I was thinking about or ruminating over or obsessing over. And working on mindfulness and meditation in particular has had a big impact for me. Your mileage may vary. Same with this last one. I think it's the last one. Therapy and coaching. I started coaching or being coached a couple of years ago. And I found that having a third party, someone I could talk to about everything that's happening in the business, things I'm struggling with, or things that are happening right now that are feeling really heavy, and being able to talk to somebody who's not vested in the outcome has been really helpful. That's now since evolved into actual therapy. I see a therapist every couple of weeks, and it's been really helpful. It's also been unbelievable to sort of peel back the layers of my own story and what makes me tick and all of that. So invest in you. Invest in the things that will make your well-being flourish. And I think you will find that it brings a lot more clarity, and that it will have a great impact on your business and its success. Oh, here's the last one. Real time off. I took a sabbatical last year. I took 6 weeks away from the business, turned off Slack, turned off email, had no contact with virtually anybody. And it was one of the best things I ever did. Now, your business may not be able to support this quite yet, or you may not have such supportive staff around you or business partners like I do, but I really suggest that you find a way to take some real time off. And taking time off or planning that 3-week vacation, something like that, will force you to do the things that mean you can get away from the work. So if that's teaching someone how to run payroll or what have you, all those things that you're a linchpin for now, probably. If you really want to take time off and commit to that, you're going to have to unload those things. And I think that would be really good. I have found it to be really good. So invest in you. Next, invest in your team. Take the time, as I just said, to train people to do the things that you are a linchpin for or that eat up your time. Take that time to train them, watch them flourish. Same along those lines, level everyone on your team up as much as you can. By leveling them up and bringing them to a level that you can begin trusting them with more and more responsibilities or things will allow you to focus on you and focus on your own well-being and take that time off. And it's the right thing to do to grow people on your team and help them grow in their career. Conduct meaningful one-on-ones. I think as much as you can, and Chromatic is a small company, we're 17 people now, I think it's really important to have one-on-ones with your folks. It helps take a pulse on your people. It shows investment in them. And it has been one of the best things that we've stuck to all these years, going back to when we were 5 people and now up to 17. Every single employee gets a chance every couple of weeks to chat with someone in leadership and ownership about what's happening at work or what's happening at home. And it has made the business much better, and it has helped me have a better pulse on what is happening, which helps me sleep at night and helps me keep my sanity. Handbook and documentation. If you keep finding that you have to come in and save the day or explain how to do something or you're getting bogged down with administrative tasks or whatever, start a handbook or improve your existing handbook. Document, document, document. In doing so, you will free yourself up to be working on the things you should be working on, which we'll get to. And the little things. I'll talk more later about culture, but the little things really matter, and I think they can really add up both for your team and for yourself. Maybe that's just dropping somebody a line and saying, hey, I see you, I think you're doing great work. Sending a small gift, things like that. I've found that they can go a really long way. And, be authentic and do the things that are authentic to you and who you are, but I have found these things to be invaluable. Next big section is understand your job. One of the things I struggled with mightily over the last few years as the company has grown and as my and my business partners' jobs have evolved from being doers for the business to folks whose primary responsibility is to work on the business. I've really struggled with letting go of working for the business. We started the company and we were doing all of the work. And letting that go, or letting the dopamine hit of solving a client's problem or responding to an email, getting that checkbox is addictive, and I still struggle with it. So understand your job. Let's get into that. This is framing up what I'm going to talk about. So work on the business, not for the business. If you're in a leadership position, if you have a company of any size, you need to be focusing on the business for it to survive. And if you're not, you're going to be worried about what's around the corner. So you should be designing strategy and its execution, not closing tickets or writing code or designing things. No, or maybe that's a small portion of what you want to do. Maybe that's what you're passionate about. But your job as a leader or an owner is to be designing that strategy so that the company exists in 6 months or in 6 years. And you need to be thinking about how you execute against that decision. I think it's really important as it pertains to understanding your job that you are listening, learning from clients, industry indicators, peers, etc. These things are really important. And probably chief among your job, or chief among the responsibilities in your job, is setting the vision for the company. Where are you going and how are you going to get there? And letting everyone at the company know where you're headed. By doing so, by having that vision, people will start executing against it, and people will start thinking about that North Star in ways that you maybe hadn't even thought of. And so it sort of puts some more wind in those sails, and it's a really good thing. And I believe as an agency owner or leader, part of your job is setting the culture. And for creative agencies or digital agencies, I think culture is one of the most important things for retention and for recruitment and for networking, referrals. Your culture is inevitably what sells you. I don't think it's just what's in your portfolio or just your pricing. Your culture, I think, is really important as part of that calculus. So understand your job. By doing so and focusing on those things, you should, if you've done a lot of the other things I've mentioned, be able to relax a bit. At least I've found that when I'm focusing on the strategy and I'm understanding what we're doing and where we're going and seeing what's working, I'm a lot less stressed. Designed to delegate. Delegate, delegate, delegate. So delegate everything that takes away from your job, that slide we just talked about. If that's running payroll or following up on receipts or whatever, find someone to do that work. Your job is much more important than that. And that's not to say that that is an important job at the company, but as the owner, you need to be focusing on the strategy. Question yourself, why haven't you done this already? After you relent and give some of those things away, and you will wonder, why didn't I do more of this sooner? And grow your team for trust. I have found that over the years, I've had a really hard time trusting what I would call important or sort of linchpin activities to others. And as soon as I started to, hire for trust and build trust with individuals and show them why things were so important, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I was able to take my hands off the wheel a little bit more. Now, I mentioned at the start of the call, my hands are still firmly on the wheel and I have a lot of work to do. But if you grow your team for trust and you find great people that you can trust with your business, you will be able to do all those things that I talked about a minute ago as being your job. And teach those people how to fish like you fish. If you're somebody like me who really struggled with, again, taking my hands off the wheel, by taking the time to document or train someone in the ways that I want to move through sales, or how we write code, or what's our design process, and letting them run with it and make it better, I've had such a, it's been a breakthrough. Next is create a support network of peers. Now this might be one of the most important ones, and I mentioned it earlier in the call, how I've sort of fell backwards into this, but we're in this together, and you'd be surprised how many other leaders are not only willing but eager to talk about what's going on in their lives and what's going on with their business. And I've found, particularly in the Drupal community, that people are really willing to be supportive and open, even with direct competitors. It's really something. I think it may come from that open source sort of spirit. There's some events that I would recommend. The Digital Bureau, or the Bureau of Digital, they have some great events. Owner Camp, Owner Summit. These are places for like-minded individuals, people who have the exact same problems that you have, to gather. I assume once coronavirus passes, they will be getting back together physically, but I know they're running virtual events. I have found these to be invaluable, not only for the content at the conferences, but the network and the support, the peers that I've met and grown relationships with over the years. Totally invaluable. Ask for help. This may be within your team or this network that I'm talking about, but be vulnerable and ask for help. These things will help you let go and let people know what you're struggling with or where you need help. And in doing so, people will help. They really will. And listen. Listen to what's happening with your peers or your colleagues. And it will help you understand what's happening in the marketplace and hopefully help you sleep a bit better at night. This one is probably the hardest for me. Stop saving the day. Saving the day trains bad behavior for your people. As much as it might make you feel good in the moment, it means you're not doing your job. And by saving the day over and over, your people, your team may learn, as I believe over the years some of my staff learned and now are unlearning, that you're just going to come save the day or come change it anyway. So why should I put in all the time to do it? Or why should I go that extra mile? Or that could be really frustrating. I have also found failure is a useful tool. And I'm not saying let your business fail. What I'm saying is allow your people to fall down 2 times and get up, help them get up on the 3rd time. These might be small things, or they might be a little bit bigger things. Your mileage may vary, but by letting your folks fall down, they will learn. And you can use those opportunities to teach them, I would have done things a little bit differently. And like I said, this is not about letting your business fail or letting a big deal fall through or something like that. What I'm talking about is let your people problem solve. Ultimately, you didn't solve people to just write code or design web pages or whatever your industry is. You hopefully hired problem solvers. Let them do that. Also, when you're saving the day constantly, your focus is divided, which means you're not doing the work you should be doing. So, I talked a lot about what I think you should do or what might help you sleep a little bit better at night, plan for the future. But I'd ask, what do you want? My therapist asked me what I wanted a few weeks ago, and I had a really hard time articulating. All I could really think about as pertains to the business was, well, just to stay in business, grow, maybe make more money, keep my employees happy, help them make more money. But it doesn't really square what do I actually want this company to be. And when I started peeling that back, I found maybe I wasn't running or I wasn't building the company that I really wanted. Maybe I wasn't even doing some of the things that I found interesting anymore. I started thinking maybe I wanted more freedom, maybe freedom to work on other things. I definitely want less stress. I would love to work on some passion projects. But really what struck me when I started to figure this out was that I spent so much time putting Chromatic and my business, our business, in a box, and a box that was defined by others. When I started thinking about what do I want this company to be? What's my vision for this? And not what some other company has achieved or how big they are or the projects they win, and started thinking about, well, what do I want? I found a lot more clarity, and it was pretty freeing. So your answers to some of these questions, as you start to think about this, they should be your guide for the next few months or even years. I would definitely recommend, take some time, plan some time to do nothing, where you'll probably shake some of these things loose in your mind and start kicking them around and thinking. And it might change the trajectory of your company, or you might be right on the right path, but you'll have a bit more clarity on that, and I think that'll be great. Enjoy the ride. Here's a quote I found from Forbes. But basically, surviving in a small business is really tough. About 80% of businesses survive the first year, but beyond that, the number falls off a cliff, and reaching the 5 and 10-year marks is really, really hard. So if you're in your first year, keep at it. If you're in your 3rd to 5th year, great work. If you're 5 to 10, keep it up. And if you're profitable, all the better. So it's tough. Running a small business is really hard. Here's some books that I've found in the last 6 months to a year that I've found really useful, particularly Keep Going in Anything You Want. These were great books that in a time where I was trying to figure all of this out and really struggling, they helped me find my way. And you might find them useful as well. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you for listening. And if you're interested in growing your network, or if you need somebody to bounce some ideas off of, I'd happily be that person for you. As I said, growing the network has been one of the best things for me. So I'm open to that. You can find me on Twitter at ChrisFree, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks.